So we're going to go over the Dinacharya, and there's a lot that I could say about the daily routine. It seems simple. When you read it, you go, yeah, that seems really simple. But to the Western mind, we want when we're doing a program for our health, a lot of times we think it needs to be complex or difficult or, a lot. And for those of you who took the Prakriti Vikriti quiz at the back of the manual, what is your constitution and what is your imbalance? Whatever imbalance showed up, the best way to approach rebalancing it is by doing small little steps to bring yourself back into this equilibrium, back into this homeostasis versus trying to do a lot and then inadvertently the balance swings the other way and you go into imbalance in the opposite direction. So the idea here is a gentle, a mindful, calm, steady approach to your health so that whenever you do notice that you're getting a little off kilter, it's so easy to draw yourself back in. You go, oh, I'm seeing that I'm a little more anxious today. What do I need? What little thing can I do to bring myself back into that space of balance? What we're going to go over right now is a daily routine that is general. This has been prescribed for over 5,000 years, and the reason why it has such longevity is because it works. At first brush, it may not make sense why this stuff would work, but when you drill down a little bit more and understand it a little bit more, it makes perfect sense because this daily routine has us aligning ourselves with nature, and we are part of nature. And when we are in congruency, we feel better. So let's just go through this. The idea is to wake up around sunrise, and that's going to be different in different times of the year. You may already naturally wake up earlier in the summer than you do in the winter, and that would be perfectly normal. I've been doing this for quite a while, and as soon as the daylight begins to come over the horizon way before sunrise, my body wakes up. And it's because I've aligned myself with the rhythms of nature. And so that's the idea. For those of you who are more of a night owl, we're going to reverse engineer this so that it's easier to wake up earlier. And it's not like you have to automatically, start, I don't know what time the sun begins to rise these days, like 6 a.m. or something. For those of you who like to sleep until 8 or 9, for example, you're going to start to dial that back, hopefully. That happens naturally as we move through this daily routine. And as soon as we wake up, what's the first thing we do? We get up and go pee. As we dial in more, a lot of times we'll find that our bowels will move too first thing in the morning. And what a good thing to have that happen, and get everything cleared and ready to go. So, having a glass of water helps to facilitate a bowel movement. A warmer water will do a better job of it. And as you move through this practice, you're going to notice that your bowels will work better and better and better. So for those of you who suffer from either diarrhea or constipation or irregular bowels, you're going to start to see these improve. Scraping your tongue. In the Facebook group, Dee asked, why do we do that? And the main reason in the morning is we want to stimulate our digestive tract. We want to get the juices starting to work so that when we do eventually take in food, the body's ready to digest it and digest it well so that we can have great absorption. So we want good oral hygiene. We brush, we floss, we scrape the tongue. Another thing you may want to do is an oil pulling process where you take a little bit of olive oil or coconut oil or sesame oil, a teaspoon maybe, a little swig, and swish it around in our mouth. Ideally, we'll want to do that for about 15 minutes. So at first, what I've noticed when I get back to that as part of my routine is it pulls, it draws toxins out of the tissues and the glands around the mouth and the sinuses. And so you might only do it for 2 or 3 minutes when you first begin, but then begin to build up and do it more often. The neti pot. Some people are freaked out by the neti pot, and some people absolutely adore it. So I invite you to try it. There's instructions on how to use a neti. It's a salt water. Make sure that the water is body temperature or at least a little bit warm so it's not too cold when it reaches your sinus cavities. And make sure that the water is filtered. It's important that it is free of any potential parasites and stuff in the water, and we don't want to introduce that to our sinus cavities. So keep good hygiene with your neti pot. A little bit of salt. You put the neti pot, make a seal around one of your nostrils, tip your head and let the water run up one nostril and down the other. And it's amazing. At first, you might, if you have a subtle sinus infection, it might feel like it's burning a little bit. That's a sign that you absolutely need to do this. It helps to clear. The other thing about the neti is that if you rinse your sinuses on a daily basis, we go through and we're in public and we're around people with colds and different funk, and and when anything airborne will go up and kind of hang out in our sinus cavities in our nostrils, and it doesn't invade the body for quite some time. So if you neti, you're rinsing that out and you're not allowing those things to penetrate into the body and cause disease. So you're not getting that cold, you're not getting that flu. So it's a great line of defense to keeping yourself healthy. And then you can do a little nasya. It says apply ghee or nasya oil. You can buy commercial nasya oil. A lot of times it's medicated with like eucalyptus and things. Or you can just use a simple ghee or sesame oil and just a few drops, snort it up, pinch your nostrils, and that lubricates your sinus cavity. Again, it makes it more difficult for foreign invaders to come in. And one of the beautiful side effects of that is it helps to calm your nervous system. This is so amazing for folks that have vata dosha. So, or a vata dosha imbalance, or if they feel a little stressed out. But on a daily basis, it's just so yummy. Hot water with lemon increases the alkalinity. It also supports what we did with the tongue scraping. It rinses the liver, and the liver is very greasy, right? It's a greasy organ. And when we throw a little bit of lemon juice on it, it kind of degreases it and gets it ready to rock and roll. Then we want to move. We want to move, stretch, breathe, allow ourselves to move our lymphatics, which is the first tissue in the body that nutrifies every other tissue. What I've noticed since I've been studying Ayurveda is that we usually lean into the exercise that is the least beneficial for us. Exercise, moving is important, right? But somebody with a kapha imbalance, for example, would prefer to do a slow, gentle yoga practice, for example. And what they really need is vigor. So a kapha dosha might be better off going out for a vigorous walk and doing more of a vinyasa, more flowy kind of yoga that is more intense, right? And then Somebody with the vata loves to move. They like to move around. They're moving all the time and they end up burning themselves out. What would be very beneficial for a vata imbalance would be a slow, gentle practice. It could be a very, very slow flow yoga practice or a breathing and stretching practice. Tai Chi, Qigong, those are brilliant practices for somebody with Vata dosha. And it helps them to slow down and calm their nervous system and rebalance themselves pretty rapidly. Now, somebody with fiery imbalance, a Pitta dosha, something cooling, something that's not going to rev them up anymore is most beneficial, which might be in alignment with what the Vatas thrive with, something a little more gentle, something a little more cooling, nothing overheating. Now, meditation can come in so many different forms. I've I've had this conversation, I can't even count how many times people come up to me and say, you know, I just can't meditate. Well, what does that mean? If you think about meditation, especially as you're beginning, think of it in terms of one pointed focus. Just focus on one thing. It may be going out and standing in the grass in bare feet and just noticing what's showing up, what kind of sensations you're feeling. It may be watching your breath. It may be just staring at a plant and really taking it in, every single detail, and immersing yourself in the experience of that plant. These are just some things I'm coming up with off the top of my head. So a meditation is really valuable for slowing the mind down and practicing being completely present with something else. The journaling. Now I have it here in the morning, but I recognize that sometimes we have time constraints. And so this can be popped into the evening. In fact, if you're used to like sitting and taking in a show or scrolling on Facebook or, you know, doing some screen time in the evening, this is a great substitute for that. So you can plug this in anytime during the day. One of the fabulous things about journaling is it allows us, and what I'm talking about at journaling with regard to this practice is kind of letting it be kind of your therapist. So you put all your stuff, all the things that's bothering you or concerning you or you're worried about, anything that is at top of the mind that needs to be explored and released, put it on the page. This is your opportunity to just let it rip. And the reason why 3 pages is indicated here is you let the first thing go. You're like, you know, I'm really venting about a particular thing, and you're finished with it after 3/4 of a page. And the idea is for us to go a little bit deeper. Take a few moments if you need to, and then begin to write again. If you don't have anything top of the mind, just start writing. This is stupid. I don't know what I'm talking, you know, whatever showing up, but the idea is to get handwritten notes on a page so that you can begin to release some of this stuff that's bubbling to the surface that will invariably bubble to the surface as we do this work. Another benefit of journaling is sometimes if you have trouble with insomnia because your mind races, because you're going, tomorrow I got to do this, you know, and you're kind of working through your to-do list, putting it on the paper is a huge benefit for releasing that as far as a habit. So you just let it go and you know it's on the paper and you can refer to it in the morning, and it works so well for most people. So if that's one of your ways of being, I invite you to try that. Now, this dry brushing, the last couple of years, I have a boar bristle brush and I have used it on my dry skin to remove dead skin cells and again to stimulate lymphatic flow in the body. But I stumbled across these Korean scrub mitts. They're a few bucks. I picked them up on Amazon. You put them on your hands and you just wash your body, the whole everything with those, and it stimulates the lymphatics and it does a fabulous job of removing dead skin cells and giving you a nice glow. We want our skin to be healthy, and we want, when we remove the excess dead skin, the absorption of oil, and we'll get into that in just a moment, is so good. Oil is a purifier. It helps to release toxins. It helps us to keep things flowing. So there's a saying in Ayurveda, oil your orifices, and you'll see that in this practice. So there are several pages devoted to how to oil your body. And it goes into it in great detail in the manual. So in a nutshell, you take a few tablespoons, 1, 2 tablespoons, that's really all you need, and lovingly apply oil to your body, starting at the feet, moving toward the heart, long strokes on the long bones, circles on the joints, and emphasizing the feet, the ears, and the scalp. The feet, the ears, and the scalp. If you want to do that right after a shower, that's awesome. If you want to do the scalp right before bedtime, the feet, ears, and scalp right before bedtime, it's an excellent practice to help curb insomnia. And then for breakfast, now based on your dosha or your imbalance, you might choose to eat something that is more aligned. But here's two ideas: a green smoothie, and the other one would be like a steel cut oat or a grain if you need to build.